Welcome back for another episode of What Is That, where we pick apart ingredients found in our foods and figure out why they're there and who decided what. Already episode 2, and I'm trying really, really hard to maintain unbiased opinions. I need an emotional support cookie. On today's episode, we're going to talk about folic acid. It makes my brain hurt. A little bit about folate versus folic acid, what the difference is. Folate is found naturally in certain foods like leafy greens, beans, citrus fruits, etc. It's essential for cell growth and development. That's why it's really vital for women who are pregnant or may become pregnant to maintain healthy levels of this because it prevents neural tube defects like spinal bifida. Folic acid is the man-made synthetic form of that is put into our food system, and also you can find it in supplements. It's also been linked to help with heart disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, and stroke. All of this combined is why it was introduced into our food supply in the form of fortification in 1998. This was in the US and in Canada. It was added to things like flour, pasta, breads, breakfast cereal, and some orange juices. And that's all well and good. But here's the rub. The more I sat here, the worse it got. It found that the rates of strokes decreased following the 4 years after fortification. But it found that the rates of colorectal cancers increased from 4 to 6 per every 1,000. Also, another thing to look out for is how folic acid affects people with the MTHFR mutation. According to the London Clinic of Nutrition, if you have this mutation, which by the way makes up about 30 to 40% of the population, and you're taking folic acid supplements or supplements that contain folic acid, folate will actually stop being absorbed in your body because the folic acid sort of gets in the way of all of it. Your body can break down and absorb some of the folic acid, but not all of it. And the rest of it will actually just sort of disperse before it has the chance to absorb. You actually run into a situation where you're taking supplements, trying to maintain healthy levels of folate, and your body is actually absorbing none of it. And then you end up in a folate deficiency. So what does that look like? Well, if you have low levels of folate, the signs and symptoms of that can be anemia, fatigue, pale skin, and mouth sores, and pregnancy complications to those that applies to. But here's my question. If you either one, have the products that folic acid is introduced to through fortification, and you're taking high amounts of those, so therefore you have high amounts of folic acid in your body, or two, you have the gene mutation in THFR and your body is not able to absorb the folic acid, so it's just kind of hanging out there. What is it doing to your body? Now, I am not a doctor or a scientist, but I am legitimately asking what is that doing to your body, and is it considered toxic at that point? Side effects to high folic acid includes stomach issues, mood changes, sleep disturbances, skin reactions, and taste change. My question also was, what is the daily recommended intake to folic acid? The daily recommended intake is 1 milligram daily. So my other question would be, how much of this is actually being fortified into our food? And are there situations in which you shouldn't be taking folic acid? According to drugs.com, you should try to avoid that if you are recovering from a procedure where you had to have widened, narrowed arteries, if you have a history of cancer, if you have a seizure disorder, or if you have an allergy or a reaction to folic acid in the past. it really makes me wonder, was the 30 to 40% of the population who have a gene mutation, or the people who suffer from situations where they can't absorb or take folic acid, were they considered when putting this in our food supply? There are products that you can get if you want to maintain healthy levels of folate, but you cannot take folic acid. I'm obviously, unfortunately, one of those people who had that gene mutation, and I was thankful to find that or figure that out when I was pregnant. So I was able to take a prenatal that had a different compound of folate in it. I will obviously list that below, but here's a photo. And if you're just wanting to be able to enjoy bread and pasta and cakes and really just flours in general, but you're having reactions to how our flour is processed, Sunrise Flour Mill, they're based in Minnesota, and they make organic heritage red wheat flour that they grind. You can also just get the berries, but they don't put any folic acid in their products, and it's actually seen to be more digestible for people who have gluten sensitivities or this MTHFR mutation like me. I only say that because I speak from experience. Yes, that means you have to kind of make everything yourself. They do have like little mixes and stuff. I'll post a picture of their flour right there. But honestly, it tastes really good, and I can eat it comfortably without having to have reactions to it. I am not by any means providing them or examples of them because I'm being paid for this. I just really, really like their flour. So, what are my overall thoughts? I think it's really important that you maintain healthy levels of folate in your body and in your daily life, especially for growing children, in utero or outside of utero. I think it's super important. I just wish that almost people had more faith that you would be able to make those decisions and what puts in your body. But also, if you're going to add it to the systems, clearly people decided to do that. You have to have full transparency of yes, it's in there. And yes, they do list it in the ingredients list, but they don't tell you how much is in there. And again, I have a big problem with that. I don't know. I just wish there was full transparency. I think that's probably going to be my takeaway for all of this. If you're finding these videos helpful and you want me to do more of them, follow, like, and subscribe, and comment below if there is something you want me to look into. I am learning a lot, even though we're 2 in and I feel like I need to change some things, but that's how it goes.